Well, I appreciate you inviting me here. My name is Maxie G, and my sobriety date is 4/23/2018. Anytime I'm asked to do something, my sponsor told me never to say no to AA, and not that I would anyway, because it's an honor to be here with you. My life has changed so much in the last 4 years that I don't know if I could describe it. Chris is right. He probably did see me at my worst. My disease took me someplace that I really never dreamed possible. I'm going to try not to stay drunk very long, because at the point of my recovery right now, I'm more concerned about what's going on right now. I mean, we all ride that pain elevator, and he said, she said, doesn't really matter. We're here together, and we're bonded together by a relationship that is truly priceless. One of my favorite things in the book is the keys to the kingdom, and every time I go to the colony, I always read it to those gentlemen when I leave, because the book tells me that I have to undergo a complete psychic change, and I feel like in my heart and in my mind that I have done that. I got very emotional this year when I received my 4-year coin, and I've tried to pinpoint that, and I really don't know that I've been able to do that yet. I want to read one thing before I get started. On January 1st of the daily reflection, it says, I am a miracle. The central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. He has commenced to accomplish those things for us which we could never do by ourselves. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 25. This truly is a fact in my life today and a real miracle. I always believed in God, but I could never put that belief meaningfully into my life. Today, because of Alcoholics Anonymous, I now trust and rely on God as I understand Him. I am sober today because of that. Learning to trust and rely on God was something I could never have done before, alone. I now believe in miracles because I am one. I promise you are looking at a miracle. I just had eye surgery. I wore glasses for 15 years. You know why they couldn't turn that thing up just a little bit more so I don't need these things? Would have been really nice. But what it all boils down for me is January 6th. The victory of surrender. We perceive through utter defeat are we able to take our first steps towards liberation and strength. Our admissions of personal powerlessness finally turn out to be the firm bedrock upon which happy and purposeful lives may be built. 12 Steps, 12 Traditions, page 21. When alcohol influenced every facet of my life, when bottles became the symbol of all my self-indulgence and permissiveness, when I came to realize that by myself I could do nothing to overcome the power of alcohol, I realized that I had no recourse except surrender. In surrender, I found victory. Victory over my selfish self-indulgence. Victory over my stubborn resistance to life as it was given to me. When I stopped fighting anybody or anything, I started on a path to sobriety, serenity, and peace. I always ask God when I get ready to speak in front of somebody to guide my words, to help me reach one person to help me to prevent you from going through what I went through. I didn't lose everything, but I was right there. A couple more months, I would have lost my restaurant. I would have lost a woman that I love more than anything in the world. And if I kept drinking the way I was going to die. I started drinking at a very young age. You know, and I think back on it. You know, was I always an alcoholic? I guess if I really want to be honest with myself, yeah. I mean, I can't say I didn't have some good times. You know, but when I really look back on it, was I really having a good time? Or was I trying to fix this gigantic hole that was here? I mean, all of us come in here for different reasons. We ride that pain elevator. It's just a matter of where you want to get off. I can remember my other half telling me, Maxie, you got no coping skills. You know, I guess in some way, shape, or form, we're all ill-equipped to deal with life on life's terms. I don't know, man. Like I said, I started drinking very early. I drank all through high school. I've been working ever since I was tall enough to put my arms up like this to a lawnmower. I don't know anything else to do except work. I own a restaurant and bar. I sling drinks every day. I couldn't stay sober for 15 minutes. That's a miracle. I wouldn't recommend to any alcoholic to do what I do. I can remember being in treatment and they were like, you can't go back and do what you do. Are you crazy? You got to sell and get out. I was staring at that cross back there, you know, and 4 years ago, I wouldn't have had this around my neck. I'm not here to preach God to you. I'm not here to tell you that you need to find God to get sober. But you better find something. You better find something, and you better find something to believe in with more than anything else. Because if you don't want it more than anything else, you're not going to stay sober. This disease is the most powerful thing I've ever come in contact with. This book tells me that I'm selfish and self-centered to the core, that I'm self-will run riot. I read this book twice when I was in treatment. First time it didn't mean anything to me. I fell face first in the fellowship hall. Literally. Before I went, I was probably drinking three-fifths a day. I was waking up in the morning, my disease was waking me up about 5 o'clock in the morning going, hey, bud, you got the keys to the candy store. What are we doing sleeping? And so I would get up, get in the shower, and I'd drive to the bar. I got to the point where I wouldn't even turn the lights on. And I'd go in there and I'd reach in that cooler down there and I'd pull that bottle of vodka out. And those of you who've been in my bar, the whole back of the bar is all mirrors, and I'd stare myself in the face and I'd go, Maxie, don't do it. Don't do it. You see, my disease had progressed to a certain point where it was actually talking to me. The bottle was talking to me. And it'd say, nobody's here. We got this. And by the time somebody would arrive there, I'd already put away a fifth. And I got the second one going. I didn't count the beer that I was walking back and forth to the cooler. I go in there, take the top off of the beer. At the time it was Ultra. I'd take the top off, take 2 swallows, kill it, put the top back on, put it back in the box. By the time I would finish my shift, there'd be an empty box. The ABC came in and warned me 3 times. Maxie, we know you're drinking. We're going to take your liquor license. We like you. We don't want to do that to you. They'd walk out the door and I'd walk straight over to that cooler and grab a cup, pour me a shot of vodka, and I'd drink it right in front of everybody. You see, that's insanity. That's nothing but pure insanity. Selfish and self-centered. If you'd have asked me 4 years ago, was I selfish and self-centered, I would have told you, hell no. I'm going to apologize because I know I'm not supposed to cuss in here, and I'm going to do the best I can. I run a bar. Okay, so I have cleaned it up a lot. I promise you, I really have. It's my life today, man. I remember going home. I'm trying to quit drinking. I quit, first of all, I quit smoking cigarettes cold turkey. I quit doing cocaine cold turkey. And I quit drinking the first time cold turkey for 11 and a half months. As I found out when I started drinking again, this is a progressive disease. I didn't understand that, but I was soon to find out. Let me give you a little bit of history on me. I went from high school to East Carolina University, which was one of the partyingest schools in the United States at the time that I went there. All colleges are wild. I remember they used to do this Playboy thing where they rate the college campuses, and they wouldn't even rate East Carolina because they said they were professionals. I thought I'd die and go to heaven. You know, see, I never hung around anybody that didn't drink and do drugs like I did. Why would I? That was normal to me. If a restaurant didn't serve alcohol, I wouldn't go there. Why would I? You see, my whole life, I surrounded myself with people like me. I was going through my phone the other day, and a lot of the people that I hung out with that drank and did drugs like me, I got a lot of dead people on my phone. I graduated from East Carolina my junior year, right before I was getting ready to go in my senior year. I had met this guy that had turned me on to cocaine, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about drugs here. I'm going to make this real quick, I promise. But anyway, so we had a relationship together, and he wanted me to fly to Florida for him. And I flew to Florida for him. I'm not going to go through the whole story. But long story short, he threw me into a hot box. And I ended up getting busted for trafficking cocaine. So I was majoring in resort management, commercial recreation, and my father spent a lot of money to get me out of trouble. I don't know how much. I had a lawyer who was a state senator. And so anyway, long story short, I thought I had it all worked out, where I was just going to do a lot of time on intensive probation. But they changed their mind, and they decided they wanted me to identify the Colombians that I had met in Florida. That was not going to happen. So I ended up going to prison. This was right about the time that I graduated from college, and I was serving an internship at Pinehurst Country Club, and the only person that knew about it was the guy who hired me. And so I had to go back and tell him that what I thought was going to happen was not going to happen, and that they were going to send me to prison. And they did. Now, you can tell that I'm not a very big statured man, and that's no place for a person like me to be. However, I made it through unscathed, unraped. I didn't get beat up, and Pinehurst Country Club did not fire me. The last part of my jail sentence was spent at McCain Hospital, and the guy that I worked for picked me up every single day, drove me to work, and took me back every single night for about 3 months. He's now passed away, but what a gift. So I straightened up, and I worked. I worked like a dog. I was teaching golf, 20-some years old, making killer money, engaged to be married. Engagement split up. Thank you, God. But anyway, when it did, I went crazy. Drinking, girls. The drugs didn't come back right away, but they did. And it started really getting in the way of my job. So they wanted to send me to treatment. And I told them that I didn't have a problem. I'm 20-some years old, probably 25-ish. I was making about $75,000 a year teaching golf. And I quit. Because I didn't want to go to rehab. Because I didn't have a problem. That's insanity. So, I quit. I kind of floundered around for about a year, doing nothing. And I started selling drugs again. The next thing I know, I'm working at Pinehurst Toyota. When I started working at Pinehurst Toyota, I got on April Fool's night, I got my third DWI. So I promised the man I'd stay there for a year. I stayed there for a year. That year, day came up. I stood up, took my pictures off the wall, and walked out the door. While I was there, I met a guy who had a nice drug connection. And next thing I know, I'm working at a bar in Southern Pines, and I'm doing a lot of drugs, and I basically became a vampire again. I'm working all night. Again, I'm hanging around with people that do the same thing I'm doing, and I'm thinking it's normal. This went on for a long time. I also ran the sports page, both of them in Southern Pines. I worked at Brooks when it was called the Beltree, or where Beltree's at was called Brooks. And it was a pretty wild spot back in the day. I've served a lot of people in this room. It is what it is. So anyway, I go through sports page. I finally get somebody to give me money to open my own place in 2009. Right before that, I got my last DWI, which, counting the 2 careless and recklesses I had, that would be number 6. But I didn't have a problem. So I got somebody to give me my money to open my own place. I opened my place Super Bowl 2010. The guy that loaned me the money said, Maxie, I got one agreement, is that you don't drink while you're working. Well, I had a breathalyzer machine in my car, so I couldn't drink and start my car. Second week I was open, I blew my back out. So I'm not drinking, I'm working day and night, and I'm eating Percocet tins like they're chiclets. Luckily for me, the only time I was comfortable is when I was standing and working. So the guy that loaned me the money shoved his wife down my throat as a partner, and we did not play well together. I won't tell you what I called her, but it was not good. So I ruined that relationship, and they tried to sabotage me, or she tried to sabotage me with everything possible. With them gone, I started drinking again while I was working. I had done it my whole life, so I had nobody in my way. So everything was going good. I finally got my back. I got a bunch of blocker shots in my back, so my back was good. Work was good. Except I was broke and I was always struggling for money. But I was doing what I wanted to do. February 6, 2013, my life changed forever. My father died. He's not my biological father. My biological father was a drunk like me. My biological father beat my mother when she was 6 months pregnant with me, to the point where I was near about coming out of her. My father's death devastated me, and I don't know why. Except there was a lot of things that I needed to say to him that I never got a chance to say. Six months later, I got cancer. I got prostate cancer, and I found it by accident. So if you're 50 years old or above, please go get your PSA checked on a regular basis, because I found mine by accident, and if I hadn't have found it, it would have killed me. March 2014, I get my prostate cut out. Those of you who've had prostate cancer, you know what that does to a man. So here I am, running a business. I'm grieving my father's death. I'm drinking like crazy. And now I'm coming off cancer surgery. I'm wearing a diaper, and I have no sexual functions. And I become very angry. I was a bad enough drunk until I started drinking angry. I felt like God had robbed me of something that was, I wasn't grateful that He saved my life. I felt like He robbed me. And the more I drank, the more I grieved my father's death. The more I grieved my father's death, the more I drank, and the more I drank, the angrier I got. Then the depression came in. I never believed in depression. I used to laugh at it, and I think it was like, let me tell you something. Depression is like quicksand. You can't get out of it. You feel like, I am not somebody who doesn't want to get out of bed. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I start my stuff every single day. I didn't want to get out of bed. So I drank like crazy. Like crazy. I ballooned up to about 220 pounds. My face was red as a tomato. I'm running off customers, running off employees. So I looked at myself in the mirror one day. I said, what are you doing? You're killing yourself. So I quit. 11 and a half months. But I didn't surrender. I knew I was going to drink again because I was just going to cool out for a while, get everything back together. I was going to prove to myself and everybody else that I could stop drinking. And I did. Detoxed myself. That was rough. I used to collect red wine when I was a golf pro. I love red wine. Love vodka. Love beer. Love drugs. I am that they talk about in the book. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You're looking at him. I am that alcoholic of the hopeless variety who builds things up and rips it to the ground and mows over anybody who gets in my way. That's me. I kept collecting a bunch of red wine. My disease kept telling me, oh man, what we miss is that big old bottle of big red wine. I love big red wine. And that steak. So I bought a ton of wine. And I kept taking this one bottle out over and over and over and over. I bet I took it out 25 times if I took it out once. I never drank it because she was there. She went to the PGA show. In January of 16, I guess it would have been, maybe 17. Left me there with my disease, my wine, and that disease convinced me to pop that cork. I took a picture of it, sent it to her. I said, you know what? I said, I don't want you to freak out, but I'm going to drink this bottle of wine. I'm sure her heart hit the floor. I drank that bottle of wine. It was delicious. Delicious. I didn't drink another bottle. No fireworks went off. No sparks came out of my rear end. I'm like, I'm good. It took me about 10 days to get back to that vodka. And I swear to you, as soon as I'm sitting right here up here talking to you, when that vodka hit my lips, it was like, it was warm. I felt it going down. It's like it went in every crack and crevice that was inside my body. And I woke up something that had just been waiting. I can remember telling Kathy, we were talking about it the other night. I kept saying, something's different. Something's different. I can't put my finger on it. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't. And it got worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, I couldn't even finish my shifts. People were having to come in and work for me. Here I am, I got 6 DWIs, and I'm getting in my car and I'm driving around. I'm having to be driven home, carried in the house. If I was awake, I was drinking. I had this old guy in the early riser meeting. He just tell me, Maxie, there's no way you drink that much. I said, oh yeah, I did. Oh yeah, I did. I was drinking so much, it should have killed me. I mean, how my liver and everything inside of me did not just jump out of my body, I really don't know. So I came home one day after struggling and struggling and struggling. I wrote a letter to God on my front door, put it on the front door. I'm like, God, please, don't let me drink today. And I'd leave that house with thinking, no, today's the day. I'd get to that cooler when I got to work, and I'd drink every time. I think maybe I got a couple of days in. I think maybe the longest I got in that span of a year and a half was maybe 10 days. Maybe. And every time it got worse. I came home and I said, Kathy, I said, I think you're right. I think I'm an alcoholic. I used to get so mad at her when she called me an alcoholic. You just make me furious. Why don't we want to admit we're alcoholics? And I apologize, but I don't know any other way to tell you what she said except to say the words. She said, no, Maxie, you're not an alcoholic. You're just a fucking drunk. And I looked at her, and I saw a look in her eyes that I had never seen before. As drunk as I was, I said, game, set, match. She's done. I went in my bedroom. I got on my hands and knees, and I cried, and I begged, and I cried, and I begged, and I cried, and I begged. I said, God, please, you saved my life from cancer, and I didn't appreciate it. I said, if you don't help me, I'm going to die. So next morning, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I took a shower, and I went to work, and I started drinking again. On Wednesday morning, I called my brother. I'm drunk again. This was 2 days, I think, after I prayed, maybe 3. I said, my brother was a recovering drug addict. He'd been in and out of rehab, got hooked on Xanax. He was a professional golfer, got in a car wreck, broke his neck in 4 places, shattered his left shoulder. They put him in a halo, and he was already hooked on pain pills, and when they put him on the halo, they gave him Xanax, and he got hooked on it. I said, but Todd, I can't quit drinking. I cannot stop. He said, I know. Everybody's calling, everybody's trying to figure out how to help you, and we don't know how. So he gives me a phone number of this kid. I'm talking to this kid, and I'm like, he's telling me about AA, and I'm drunk, and I'm listening, but I'm not listening. He gives me a phone number of my sponsor. I haven't talked to this man in 15 plus years. See, I had a white light experience in my house the day before that I can't explain to you. I just know it happened. So I called this phone number. And my sponsor answered the phone. Sorry to call you out, Deucey, but that's who I called. So I had a white light experience in my house that I can't explain. And I had a man that answered the phone after 15 years. I had no idea what my phone number was. I'm drunk. I don't know how long he talked to me. All I know is that when I hung up the phone, I knew what kind of a drunk he was. And he was almost 15 years sober, or was already 15 years. And when I hung up the phone, I had hope. And he convinced me that I needed to lock myself away for 30 days or I was never going to stop drinking. And so I went to Fellowship Hall. Took him 6.5 days to detox me. First 2 weeks I was there, I cried every day. They made fun of me. What are you going to cry about today, Maxie? You see, I couldn't believe that I lost control. I couldn't believe that. I'm like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? I can never drink again. What am I going to do now? So I get out of treatment. And I was praying that he was going to ask me or be my sponsor. So he asked me, he says, are you willing to do anything to get sober, Maxie? An ungrateful heart will drink again, Maxie. Listen to me, Maxie. I ain't never listened to nobody in my life. He said, if you listen to me, I promise you a peace and a happiness as you never dreamed possible. That was 4 years and some change ago. What is Alcoholics Anonymous giving me? Everything. Everything. See, I didn't lose everything, but I was that close. And see, today for me, what it all boils down to is, you see, Chuck C says, you either accept spiritual help or you die. For me, it's just that simple. See, I know I got another drunk in me. But as sure as I'm standing here talking to you right now, I don't have another recovery in me. Because if it can get worse than it got last time, I'm a dead man. Every time I talk to that man, and he hangs up, he tells me, Maxie remains spiritually fit. See, this is a life or death situation for me. If you're new in here, you better be listening to what I'm saying. Because if this disease grabs you like it grabs me, you're in trouble. And see, for me, what I have to remember today is I'm capable of doing it again. I get up every single morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. I let my dogs out. I go to the bathroom. And I get on my knees. And I thank God for keeping me sober yesterday. And I beg Him to keep me sober today. I ask Him to help me spread His will upon other people today. To help me to be more kind, caring, and understanding, and help me to make rational decisions. Help me to keep my head where my feet are, and help me to remove all my character defects. And I got a shitload of them. I don't know if there's a world record for the Serenity Prayer, but I guarantee you I'm up there. I'm reminded every single day. This old timer used to tell me, keep going to a barbershop, you're going to get a haircut, Maxie. Talking about what I do for a living. Well, I've already had a haircut. It is a perfect reminder for me every single day of what I am capable of doing again. This disease is undefeated. It will kill you. It wants everything from you, including your life. But it'll take perfect misery until it gets it. As I sit and lead meetings in Wilder Building, I go to the 7:30 meeting. I've been doing 90 and 90 so daggone long, I don't even know how long I've been doing it. I used to ask him, how long I got to do this? He said, you go until you want to go. Well, if I don't go, I ain't right. I need you people. You can't do it alone. You know, you got to get in the center of the boat, and you got to let fellowship love you sober. See, because this is a life and death situation for me. I've watched several people that I know who have somebody that they're very close to die of this disease in the last couple of months. It's so sad. I go to the colony, I go to detox, and I stick my hand out to the guy who still suffers. Because, you know what, man? For a bottle and a hangover, I've been given the keys to the kingdom. And today, I'm a very grateful alcoholic. Very grateful recovering alcoholic, should I say. I'm Maxie, I'm an alcoholic.